What if a single, magical object could rewrite your entire future? She found an enchanted mask, and her life was never the same. This video dives deep into the astonishing impact of an unforeseen discovery, revealing the incredible, transformative power of destiny and hidden magic. The sea always woke before the town did. Sarah Hale lived quietly in Windermere Bay, a small coastal town where days passed like tides, gentle, predictable, and uneventful. She worked at the Maritime Museum, surrounded by relics of forgotten voyages. To her, history felt safer than the present. But after a violent storm one dawn, she found something half buried in the sand, a mask, smooth as bone, etched with strange spirals that shimmered faintly beneath the light. When her fingers brushed it, the air seemed to hum. At home, she placed it on her desk. It watched her silently through the night, its hollow eyes catching moonlight. Curiosity turned to obsession. When she finally lifted it to her face, there was no explosion, no flash, only a ripple, like reality bending inward. Visions flickered, waves rising, temples drowned, her own reflection watching from somewhere beyond time. She tore the mask off, gasping. Everything was still. Yet she could feel the sea inside her pulse. For the first time in years, Sarah didn't feel small. She felt chosen. But outside, the tide was higher than it had ever been, and still rising. The sea had woken, and it was calling her name. Morning light burned sharper than usual. The world shimmered with quiet motion, shadows breathing, whispers hiding in the wind. Sarah could sense things she couldn't explain. The museum's relics spoke in murmurs, anchors sighing, compasses spinning, conch shells humming with old songs. Eli, the caretaker, watched her carefully. "You've changed," he said softly. "There's light in your eyes that wasn't there before." That night, the mask called again. When Sarah wore it, she found herself standing in another place, a shoreline that glowed beneath a twilight sky. A figure waited in the mist, masked and radiant. "You woke me," it whispered. "And in doing so, you woke yourself." She reached toward it. The vision shattered, leaving her breathless and alone. Yet a trail of wet sand crossed her floor. The mask's warmth pulsed through her chest. The next day, she touched a plant, and it bloomed instantly. A cat followed her home. People stared too long, drawn to something they couldn't name. In her dreams, she stood before an endless sea, and it whispered, "Soon." Windermere Bay began to change. The tides grew unpredictable, fog lingered like breath, and people felt strange when Sarah was near. Friends said she glowed. Strangers couldn't meet her eyes. Objects in the museum no longer rested. The compass pointed not north, but toward the sea. Eli's voice trembled. "The ocean's waking through you. Be careful, it always takes something back." But power was intoxicating. Sarah could feel emotions like textures, could hear thoughts half-formed, could shape wind and calm storms with a whisper. Each time she used it, her reflection blurred, less human, more light. When the mask cracked, it wasn't just the object that split. Reality did. Storms formed without clouds, waves whispered in languages forgotten. Eli found her by the water, eyes like liquid silver. "You have to stop," he pleaded. "I can't," she said. "It's not finished with me." Lightning split the sky. The mask began to sing. The sea roared her name, and this time, it answered back. The storm swallowed the town. The mask glowed like a star in her hands, and the voice of the sea thundered through her veins. When she put it on, the world dissolved. She stood before an ocean of light. Figures emerged, masked beings of water and starlight. One stepped forward. "You were one of us," it said. "The last keeper of Aethernis. You bound your power into this mask to forget." Visions surged, temples beneath waves, rituals of balance, her own hands commanding the sea. "The world is breaking," the being said. "The ocean remembers through you. But it needs a keeper again." Sarah trembled. "If I accept, what happens to me? You will belong to both realms, but fully to neither." Tears blurred her sight. She thought of the life she'd lose, the people she'd leave. Yet the sea's pulse matched her own. She raised the mask. Then let the world remember. Light consumed her, then silence. When the storm broke, the sea was still. The town awoke to calm skies and whispers of miracles. But Sarah was gone. Eli found the cracked mask on the sand. When he touched it, a soft breeze brushed his cheek. A voice has echoed faintly, "Keep watching the shore." The mask turned to dust in his hands. Far beneath the waves, Sarah moved through luminous water, her hair drifting like seagrass. The ocean obeyed her gestures. She was no longer mortal, she was memory, current, song. On the cliffs, flowers bloomed out of season. The wind smelled of salt and light. Children found smooth mask-shaped stones and swore they heard whispers from the sea. "Magic never leaves," the voice said softly. "It only changes form." And when the tide rolled in, it curved lovingly around Windermere Bay. As though greeting its keeper once more, a shadow stirred beneath the surface, and the sea began to hum again. The storm had gone. The sea lay still, silvered by dawn, as Windermere Bay breathed again. In the quiet that followed, something unseen remained, a warmth in the air, a faint song folded into the tide. Once, Sarah Hale had watched these waters from the shore, now the waters themselves seemed to watch for her. Flowers opened where no season called for them, and children spoke of voices in the shells they found. When the tide curved around the bay, it did so gently, as though greeting its keeper once more. Deep beneath the calm, a shadow moved, and the sea began to hum again, low, patient, eternal. For magic never leaves. It only changes form. Thank you for watch. Subscribe so you don't miss the next powerful story, like, and drop us a love emoji.